To dive more into the privacy and security, which I think is an extension of business models, I think that a lot of people don't make that connection enough, that a lot of times the reason why there's so many privacy issues is actually directly related to finances and business models, because that's what a lot of the modern internet runs on. So how do you ensure the privacy and security of your users? Let's just start there. Regarding just you as Vivaldi, as a company, how do you treat the data first party of your users? Is there any kind of policies you have to protect your own users just from you collecting their own data? Let's not talk about third parties yet.
Yeah, I think for us, that's a very important point, that we don't want to have access to our users' data at all. So we're not sending user data to our servers. We are not collecting data. We actually go so far, we don't even collect any telemetrics, meaning kind of how you're using the browser. Now, I know some of the guys on the design side wouldn't mind having a little bit of information on how people are using the browser, and I don't necessarily think it's terrible to collect that data, and I think all of our competitors do. But we've just decided, okay, we don't even want that. We just don't want to know what people are doing. Personally, for me, it's a little bit about, okay, instead of looking at statistics, I'd like to just listen to what users have to say and take their advice on how products should be made. So we listen because it's in an individual requirement that goes into kind of our adapting to the needs of every individual user, basically taking the input from our users and providing the flexibility that they can get it their way. So it's a way of thinking. So we try to avoid having access to data from our users. This includes things like sync. So when it comes to synchronization, I mean, you may have Vivaldi on multiple devices. You want to synchronize. We synchronize through our servers. We have two passwords. One of them is basically logging into Vivaldi, which you can use for our other services as well, like if you're using our blogs or forums or Vivaldi Social and the like. The other password is the encryption password, which is only on your computer. So it basically means that we won't be able to read your data on our servers, even if we wanted to. And that's kind of how we'd like to keep it, because we don't want to have the data.
Got it. So you're saying that every user has their own private key for synchronizing between different Vivaldi accounts?
Yes.
If someone downloads Vivaldi, they don't touch any settings, and they don't open a Vivaldi account, is there little to almost no info? Because you said you don't collect telemetry. So what kind of data is even submitted to Vivaldi from just someone who doesn't even set up a Vivaldi account?
I mean, the only information we get is basically we're counting users. So we would get a ping that allows us to count how many users we have and where in the world they are, and more or less hardware. That's the level of information that we get.
Got it. And I'm guessing, from what I've been able to tell, that's pretty universal across almost every other browser as well.
Yeah, again, everyone else is collecting users' data, while we are just basically the only thing, we just want to know how many users we have. That's basically it.
Right. Now, regarding third parties, have you seen privacytests.org?
Yes.
So this is why I like to ask people, because there's probably a lot more nuance, because privacytest.org I think is a great resource, but also like all these resources have to have nuance. For example, they say there's no Tor routing in Brave, for example, but Brave has a Tor routing window, it's just not by default utilized, so therefore it fails the test. If you look at privacytest.org, Vivaldi doesn't perform as well as some of the other browsers. So do you mind expanding on some of those third-party protections, and why by default a tool like PrivacyTest would show Vivaldi not performing as well? I'm genuinely asking for myself as well.
Actually, it's because it's run by Brave. I mean, the guy that owns it, that owns the site, he works at Brave. Now he tries to say that it's kind of has nothing to do with Brave at all, but he works for Brave. And I think in a way, I mean, if you're working for a competitor in the field and you're putting out a site that is supposed to be independent, I would put the name of the company in big letters on the front page and say, this is who we are, this is what we put out, this is how we compare to our competitors. Not, okay, this is an independent test, I'm comparing kind of with the different browsers and the like. So that's, I mean, he chooses to run the test with all security kind of privacy tracker blockers and ad blockers off in Vivaldi. At Vivaldi, we asked you, we want you to decide what it is that you want to have on or off in the beginning. And he chooses then to run all the tests with all those off. So it's pretty crazy, and I've tried to talk to them about this, that this is kind of unethical to do, but I guess they don't think like that.
Right, so that's the nuance I was trying to get into. So you're saying the reason why it doesn't perform the same is because they have the tracking protections off for Vivaldi.
Yes.